Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to Concordia University's Forest Space. Thanks for joining us for today's event. So next in the series, part of Volume MTL, this is called Ecologies of Becoming. And we'd like to begin by acknowledging that Concordia University is located on unceded Indigenous lands here in Chichage, Montreal. And we respect the continued connections with the past, present, and future, and our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community. We're running today's event as a live stream to both YouTube and Zoom. And so those of you joining us by Zoom, your comments or questions are important. Just pop them into the chat. We can read them out a little bit later on if we get there. Same within space. You probably know this already, but just raise your hand. We'll run a microphone over to you. Okay. To kind of give us an introduction to a conversation that happened a little earlier this morning, I'm happy to pass the microphone over to the founder and director of Anteism Books, Harley Smart. It's great to have you back, Harley.
Thank you. Very happy to be here. Thanks for everyone for coming. So yeah, my name is Harley Smart. I'm co-publisher of Anteism Books. Thanks to Louis Rastelli and Marie-Sté Jolien at the Volume Art Book Fair for the invitation, and to Fourth Space for the excellent job putting this together today. So Ryan Thompson and I, we formed Anteism Books 20 years ago. This year, so that was back in 2005, and for the last 11 years, we've been leading a bit of a concentration on artists working with machine intelligence in their practices. So looking at how they could, how we could push bookbinding, the practice of bookbinding and book arts, as well as more traditional approaches to writing, editing, and making books. So that's something we've been looking to do in each one of these books that we've been publishing in over the last 11 years. We've had the great pleasure of working with Sougwen Chung on this new book here called Ecologies of Becoming. So that's released this year. This is her first book. It's an artist book. A bit about Sougwen. Sougwen is a Chinese-Canadian artist and researcher. She's very much pioneered new approaches to human-machine collaboration. Her practice interweaves sculpture, robotics, performance, along with drawing and painting. She's incredibly intelligent, well-spoken, and brilliant at writing, which this book, I feel, is really a proof of. Along with a lengthy list of museum exhibitions and high-profile residencies, Sougwen has given TED Talks. She's been featured on the cover of Art in America, as well as recognized by Time magazine as one of the most influential people in AI. So we'll be playing now a conversation we recorded this morning at the Anteism Book Bindery. And after that, we're actually going to have Ayaka Ito, the book designer. She'll join us, hopefully, over Zoom to have a couple more questions and discuss the design.
I'm so excited to be sharing this book and being able to speak a little bit about it. It's been such a labor of love, I know, for all of our teams, and for me, a really personal journey, kind of an existential one as well. So I'm really happy to be able to speak about the process with you.
Yeah, so this book has been 5 years in the making. We reached out originally to Sougwen to discuss the potential of putting together an artist book. So what became of this book was much larger than we ever hoped, and we were very happy about that. It turned into a survey of 10 years of your work, your studio practice, which covers a number of practices in materialities, processes, working with machine intelligence, drawing, painting, and performance. And I really feel like we covered a lot of ground with this book, and it's also very much your vision, your words throughout. So this very much was an artist book that came together versus a monograph or a survey of your work. I really feel like your vision and your aesthetics came through with the book.
That makes me so happy to hear. It was our first time working on anything like this. So it was a really incredible opportunity and really exciting when you guys sort of approached us with this project many years ago at this point. I am really, again, delighted by your kind of graciousness as a bindery and as a studio for indulging our big vision with what this book could be. I think I loved one thing I really loved about the earliest discussions we had. That was such a gift, was that when you're an artist who works with performance and robotics and drawing and installation, and you've never worked on a book before, I think I really wanted to push a book to not feel like a book, the book to feel sculptural, to really, again, play with these layered materialities like I do in my work. And it's such a gift when you bring these ideas to the table, and the response is a very yes and approach. It's a very like the scope is infinite. I think it really came through in how the book came together. I remember the early days of talking through material as well with Ayaka, our incredible book designer on this project too. And she was just, she really exceeded my expectations about the possibility of what this could be in so many ways. So yeah, on behalf of myself and the studio, we were really grateful to Anteism for everything you've done in spearheading this book.
Great. No, it's been our pleasure. I might just give a quick flip through the book here and discuss.
Yeah, please.
So you mentioned the materiality and the sculptural, this desire to show the object, and treat it like more of a bespoke, artwork almost for the book.
Yeah, completely.
So we have a 3D printed slipcase for this book. That was a bit of a side production for the whole project.
Yeah.
So while all editorial and design and this process and subsequent prototyping later, we also had this production of this 3D printed slipcase. So, and we did a number of tests and experiments with different processes, going back, and even earlier than this, we worked with 3D graphics that you'd actually drawn in Oculus Rift. So these were large gestural drawings, like life-size VR drawings that you'd produced, and you provided us with to work with. So from those, we were able to follow Ayaka's prepared mock-ups, and then we worked with that file to create what ended up being the slipcase here. And so for us, like all these steps, for us, that's the fun part of art book publishing, and that that's really where we find pleasure, and like where for the long haul, that yes and mentality, like absolutely, that this is at the while we might not be so organized on other things, or like intent on the publication distribution and like the economics of book trade, we're very much in this for like what we have here today, working together with the artists in the studio, and patiently, like, as that's really hasn't been an issue, like the time-wise, we're just making sure we get it right, and something we're happy to show. And print run, all these things, like the reach of the book, large print runs. This is less of our goal or what we have in mind with the books, but really more to create something like what we have here today and what we were able to achieve with you. So yeah, thanks again from Anteism. And I was hoping though you could explain to us a bit about the creation of this, and how like this is in fact like a direct result from your handwork in the studio, and a big part of what this is. So it's really like this container for the book that you've created here.
So I'd love to talk more about that, actually. I think so much of the practice over the past 10 years, which this book shows, is the evolution of the human hand. How do we evolve drawing and catalyze new ways of understanding mark making, and kind of what that means to today and today's increasingly digital, kind of generative, prompt-based kind of landscape. I've been a lifelong drawer, like many artists. For my whole life, I've worked a lot in the space of machine collaboration and robotics, but also drawing as sculpture and really exploring the spatiality of what drawing can become. And I think it's really been embodied in this sculptural encasing for the book, because it is not only is it sculptural in form, it's all data-driven kind of recordings of movement and time. I think that's what's so dynamic for me about exploring drawing in these different ways, is because we can really rethink just drawing beyond the image to something like shared movement, something like sculptural movement, so that we were able to really embody that and formalize that in this slipcase for this book, which is actually the cover and the texture of the book is also embossed and really, really subtle and sculptural, and is in dialogue with this encasing that also perfectly frames Ayaka's beautiful kind of metallic embossed text. So there's just so many different layers of movement representation of kind of light and shadow, as you can see in the overhead. We really wanted to think about bringing in like kind of the material finish of technology in the form of this kind of aluminum paint kind of quality. And we explore the sort of material poetry within many different layers in the book, a book that doesn't feel like a book with all these different voices and elements comparing and contrasting and echoing each other. So yeah, the book, the sculptural encasing is just kind of, I think it's a very fitting exterior to, I think, a very exciting and dynamic interior as well.
Absolutely. Now, for the manuscript development and the writing that you prepared, can you tell us a bit about that process? It's largely written by yourself, authored by yourself. The concept for the book, the vision, the text, everything. You did have some contributions from Claire Voon and editorial help. We did have some, Tessa has very much been a huge part of arranging, working with across the team from Anteism, our copy editor, Edwin Jansen, and working with, Ayaka and then back to Sougwen. So this has been a large part and a lengthy part to like dial in very, very poetic text, but going from critical thinking and looking into your practice in your mind and back towards more, I'd say, like playful and poetic writing that I almost feel like I recognize from perhaps your like Instagram feed, which I love, like reading, these stories that
it's a bit like my diary.
Exactly, your diary, your thoughts, your readings. But that really comes through in the book, which I love. But it also goes much deeper into your practice, into your thinking, into your workflows, approaching more critical and academic thinking about the work, and then back and forth.
Yeah, the different chapters of the book, I think when we were coming together to think about it, I mean, I've done a lot of speaking about the work. I have a lifelong love of process in all its forms. I think I have a very porous way of thinking about how works come together, and the idea of what research is. And we came up with several categories that have really been the tenets of the practice, which is on the human subject, on the post-human subject, on machines, on performance, on drawing, of course. And it's just a time for me to really reflect on those categories and how that exists within the work. Some of my references, whether that's references in philosophy or poetry or engineering or bioengineering, sort of some of the different kind of influences on how the work is developed. So much of the journey has been such a process journey that I think it's reflected in not only these chapters, but these poetic interludes compiled and written by Claire Voon. I have to say, one should be so lucky to have their work kind of showcased by the deft hand of Anteism, the keen visionary design eye of Ayaka Ito and the beautiful and powerful writing of Claire Boone. So it's really, again, it's really a dream to have that kind of killer collaboration, very exciting collaboration. For a while when we were kind of brainstorming the book, Ayaka, Claire, and I would get on calls, and it's not intentional, but it just so happened that we're all members of the Asian diaspora in New York and the US. So that also felt like a really a labor of love, but also really powerful in its own right for us to kind of come together and bring some of what we care about into this really special artifact. So yeah, the chapters, it's exciting. I think at the time I didn't realize what a massive undertaking it would be to write all the text for my first book. Apparently that's not always how it's done. I'm really looking forward to releasing a kind of companion version, maybe a follow-up with a curatorial writing from different wonderful curators that we've worked with, who are provoked by some of the ideas in the book and everything. That would have been a lot less work, frankly, to compile up that writing. But it was a really wonderful to do so much of the writing and to be able to share the different generations of the drawing operations project in my voice. And yeah, it's a very ambitious, diaristic venture, I think.
Absolutely. Ambitious was a word in my head just now, and thinking about like approaching the book design, the project initially, and it became this much larger project, which we're very happy about. I was curious, like you mentioned, this was your first book. Can you tell us a bit more about, like, had you done anything in this space, any publications, any artist books before, or do you think of doing this perhaps in the future?
I would love to do more artist books in the future. I think the format of the printed page, and particularly books, are so experimental and kind of newly really radical, or at least that's how I feel about kind of the material story that you can really tell. We used sort of printing on vellum to overlay over the artworks. They're really, I think, texturally. Oh yeah, please, with the overlay overhead camera. There's so many different kind of tones, I feel like, that are expressed in the material layering of the book. Every choice was, I think, very deliberate, like white space, this kind of aluminum finish for some of the pages, really painstakingly put together to bring a real sense of dimensionality, and I think intimacy to the book, to the practice and how to engage with it, that I feel like only books can really do. I think there's something about showing works in the exhibition format that's very look, don't touch, and it's very it's sort of performative in the gallery in the way. But I love the intimacy of this kind of format, and we'd love to do more books in the future. I know that Aika and I, that would be a real dream. Hopefully more to come. I've done a lot of writing about the work, contributing to different publications, but this is kind of the first solo venture.
Excellent. If we can just punch in okay, here we go. If you don't mind just punching in later, Douglas, for a sec. Sorry, our feed just got interrupted. And
oh no, okay.
Just to note that we will be looking very closely on the camera later on today at the space.
Okay, great, wonderful.
Sorry, we can continue.
Great.
Tessa, your role in the book project has been producer, and you've really been an enormous help pulling everything together, coordinating amongst the writers, the contributors, the studio, all the assets, all the images involved. So thank you for all that effort and support over these years. Can you tell me how did you feel about that experience, and did you have other experiences like this in the past, managing and helping produce books?
Thank you, Harley. No, this has actually been the first time for me. I'm thinking back now. I've been involved with smaller publications for sure, but nothing of this scope. Even more so, Sougwen and I started working together a little over 4 years ago, it must have been now. And I think these conversations were already in
Yeah, they were.
so I stepped in, or I joined when the first steps were already made. But it's been, yeah, I love to be involved with projects like this from early on until the moment that we finally have the book in our hands, which has happened very recently and
Yeah.
has been so exciting. And yeah, no, it's been a really beautiful process to be part of, with all the different people that have been involved over time, including Arena on our team as well, Zaina, Piers, because the book is so detailed and it includes so many images, credits that need to be looked up. We were really lucky to work with a big team of people who have all helped in their own ways over time. But yeah, definitely, as Sougwen mentioned, to be working with people like Ayaka and Claire, and of course your team at Anteism, has been really nourishing, really, yeah. There's definitely been moments that I felt like I had to draw a line in the sand because, you know, as an artist, when you're reflecting on your work, there's never really an end point. You can continue to go. So I guess, like, looking back at how this book came together, we could have done it. Well, I mean, timelines for print and shipping cross-Atlantic, and reviewing aside, because of course there's been a lot of that over the past 5 years, you know, sending these 3D printed covers back and forth to review different, because we haven't even spoken about that, but we review different types of paper, different types of ink. So of course, a big part of the process goes into that, especially when working with a publisher like Anteism and with Ayaka on Design, who's really had a lot of great ideas on print and techniques as well, not just the design. So I would say a big part of the process has definitely been spent on that as well the past 5 years, but also, yeah, the process could have been 1 year, maybe it could have been 10 years, 20 years. There were definitely a few moments, and I think I already pushed that quite a bit, where I had to tell Sougwen, like, okay, now it's time to close the book and let's start with a new one, because I mean, I believe you mentioned this at some point as well, Harley, like the content of this book, because I'm not sure if you can see it well on this video, but if you consider this to be an artist's first monograph, it's quite a bulky publication. Now, obviously, there's a lot to unpack too. We're reflecting on 10 years, not only 10 years of the drawing operations project, but also all of the research, influence, like references from poetry, writing, philosophy. There's a lot in there, including high-res images of some of the works that I think you're showing now on the other screen. But yeah, there's always more. You know, this is just a start. So I think a big part of my role has definitely been to tell Sougwen to stop at some point.
You kept on saying, it's your first book, not your last book.
Exactly.
So that was really helpful.
So yeah, so I'm not sure if I would call myself the producer on this book, because I've been quite like on the background, definitely steering the timeline where possible. And now that we finally have the book in our hands, even though a big part is still stranded in North America, but we're looking forward to receiving the majority of that in Europe soon, because there's been a lot of people asking, which is very great and exciting. We're also looking forward to bringing more books to upcoming exhibitions. So all of that is where I think a lot of my work really starts. But over the past few years, it's definitely been, a regular check-ins to see where things stand, but also to tell Sougwen at some point that it's good enough. It's great.
Yeah.
all the new works, because this is the thing, there's always something new that could be included, and at some point things just have to go to print. So
I, especially over like 5 years, I think new bodies of work come about over that time. So you always want to put, but that was, I think, a very vital contribution to just be like, this needs to get out there, because otherwise it's just in our internal meetings. So that was invaluable, as everything is.
And I think in the end, we chose a really good point, a decade of this particular practice. Of course, you've been drawing and researching and working in robotics, and you've done so much more in the years before. But I think this decade of the drawing operations unit generation timeline has been a really good thread to look back on. And now we can start working on new publications, which is gonna be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, I find often when we're publishing and preparing art books of this scope, it's often tied to an exhibition where we're rushing to produce it and get it for the opening for this event or that. It was nice not having this pressure of having it tied to any timeline, and we could go as far as we needed to finish this book. And we're also thinking about like how typically like our artist books, we might approach more like one thought, one body of work, exploring one idea, say, and a lot less content management and focus on that one body of work, perhaps. Whereas this, like we were saying, this whole 10-year span, all of the different aspects of your practice, Sougwen, and how this resulting book is really going to be able to live a lot longer, have a lot further reach. I think it's going to be a lot more relevant for years to come. And you're so busy with the studio, like you have a lot, of course, of museum exhibitions and events behind you, but you have so many more to come, and I feel like this should follow for years. So I hope we have enough copies for that.
We're really excited to announce further on where the book can be found. I think we have some museum partners, obviously, in sort of in conjunction with some of the exhibitions we're doing over the next little while. I think it's really the perfect companion volume to experiencing the works in other formats, in performance and in exhibition. So we're really excited to get it in people's hands. And it, again, couldn't have been done without obviously the incredible work of the studio and everyone that's been involved over the past few years. I can't believe it's a sort of a look back at 10 years that took 5 years. but we're really proud of what we've made together. So we'll be announcing more places for people to pick up the books soon. I guess we'll see how long we'll have these physical copies. That's an exciting thought.
Excellent. Sougwen, did you want to have anything you might want to share on screen? You mentioned a keynote. Anything that you want to go through?
I'm happy to just have this maybe be focused on the book. I think the book really teases a lot of the practice already. I know that we can also share maybe interjecting some of this conversation with the beautiful photos that were taken by Eileen Son in LA, because I think they really show the work really beautifully. But in terms of future events for the studio and for myself, we're really excited to be heading back to New York for a symposium at the Future History Studio and co-run by the Guggenheim Museum in New York. It's going to be October 24th at Stony Brook University in New York, and a really interesting lineup of thinkers and practitioners in the kind of space of post-human AI, creative kind of politics and culture. The conference is called Unsettling Intelligences, and it will be keynoted by a really exciting researcher that I love called Joanna Zielinska. Ito Sturl, Trevor Paglin, Kate Crawford, I believe, will be there as well as Stephanie Dinkins and Noam Siegel from Guggenheim. So that will be really a kind of exciting showcase of some of the ideas around the work, but also some of the directions of the practice moving forward. We have a solo show at Kunstverein Heilbronn running till middle of December, I believe, which shows so much of this journey in person in the format of exhibition, as well as a lot of the works moving forward, the new generation of drawing operations, and some new experiments with silkworm circuitry and bioengineering and materiality. So yeah, it's going to be a really busy fall, but it'll be great to kind of share, obviously, this book with people and share some of where the practice is heading with the studio.
Absolutely, that sounds very exciting, and that's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Excellent. So again, this book will be displayed at the Volume Art Book Fair this weekend in Montreal. Thanks to Volume Fair for helping organize and host this. Thanks to Fourth Space for arranging today.
Hey, Jax, we can bring it down there because there's some goodbyes, etc. at that point. And then maybe Harley would take a couple questions. We didn't, Ayaka has not joined, who was going to join, but we weren't able to get her on the call here, Harley. But does anyone here in the space have any questions, or if you online have any questions, pop those into the chat, we can read them out. You're also invited to go up and take a look at the book. Here's Harley. Okay, well, we can close up the Zoom and the live stream now. Oh, we have a question. I'll pass the microphone over here.
Thanks, Doug. Hello, hi.
Hi, Maya.
How are you doing?
Good, you?
Thanks for bringing in a copy of this book. And I think my question is maybe slightly influenced by the first panel that we had with 51 Persona and like the global nature of collaborations like this. And there was a mention of like LA and your place here and working across different time zones and skill sets. So I'm curious how that is affecting or maybe challenging the dissemination of the book itself, being like it's a larger publication, heavy, I'm sure. Are there parts that are like maybe being printed in different locales and disseminated? And yeah, I'd just love to hear the logistics behind an international collaboration into a single object to then be widely disseminated again.
Yeah, absolutely. So the course of the production of the book and through editorial and design and like at the early stages through to production and print and distribution now is where we're at. I mean, there's been, like advantages and like big challenges throughout. Early on, it was actually during COVID, so we were all in lockdown. And the fact that Sougwen was working from her studio in Basel, Switzerland, I mean, it didn't, there was the time difference, of course, but otherwise it didn't change much. I was actually doing the computation arts program here at Concordia during that time, graduate studies, and we were all working from home in front of our computers anyway. I was happy to have like working at the studio, so we would have calls, and Ryan, my co-publisher, he was here at the time, but like for the last couple of years, he's actually been out in BC, so we have this like multiple time zones. I think one of course, LA and then in Europe. So just managing and having everybody together on one call has been a challenge throughout. Otherwise, it was great, wonderful, and it was kind of like the norm at the time anyways. It was all online. And so, yeah, as far as print production and like distribution now, like that has been That's been really challenging, getting the book out, getting it moved through borders and across and shipping. And we actually had the book stuck for a number of times getting it to the US. We had 30 days and like all this confusion and a lot of border problems like through customs and multiple months of delays getting the book moved around to our distribution fulfillment centers and that sort of thing. So, and even then, like I'm really sorry to say that the quantity of books for Sougwen still haven't arrived. She's only had advanced copies by FedEx, so everything has been very costly. I mean, with this project, we had never, we approached it like outside of the trade, like that wasn't our vision, or we weren't planning early on, like let's, get this book distributed everywhere and make money with it. No, we had some grant funding, Canada Council funding. We knew we would be probably absorbing a lot of the costs, and it's actually a very small print run. Any case, there's a total of 700 books, which is small. It's really hard to get off the ground and go to print with that size of print run. And we managed to do a lot of our own production in our bookbinder here and assembly and prototyping, but for that quantity, we have an 800 square foot bookbindery, so we're sending it for the print, and everything turned out wonderfully, but like that has been a real challenge, is like getting it out, getting it in sales, and now at the moment we've actually, for recently in the past weeks, we've had to shut down our shopping cart on our website and shut down sales because we weren't able to get orders out. So what do? Like, a certain point, we just had to pull stop sales or shut down the site. So that thankfully has been resolved this week, and we have orders moving out. We're able to offer the books again. But our focus really has been just on creating something, working directly with Sougwen and making a really nice art book. And for better or worse, it's always been a bit less about the economics and the sales and distribution of the books, and that's something we're always working on. So.
Do you have any other questions? We have time for one or more. We can also, if we close up the Zoom and the live stream, we will, not the Zoom, those of you joining us, hold on, change my strategy there, but give you a chance to talk to Harley here in the space. Maybe you have any questions. Harley, first of all, I was going to thank you for coming in. It's great to have you. It's great to hear that
was awesome.
Behind the scenes. We are going to close the live stream now, but we're going to leave the Zoom open because we have another event that's coming up in a few minutes. And we'll be helping to get that set up. So those of you joining on Zoom, I know some of you are the panelists and some of you are the audience. Please stick around.